Hello and welcome to Talking Golf with Gary. This week, the dynamic Gary will introduce you to all kinds of topics pertinent to this past week golf. He'll give you some tidbits of information as what's coming up and take you on a tour around the world for all of the golfing highlights. Sit back and enjoy the golf, Gary.
And hello and welcome to another edition of Talking Golf with Gary, episode number 265. Got a terrific guest on today. You're going to like him as we continue to talk about the world of golf and equipment and training aids, and I want to talk some more about that today. But first, before we get started with the recap, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Matt Kuchar situation. If you recall, I think it was November, Matt Kuchar won the Mayakoba Classic. He did not bring his caddy with him. His caddy could not make the trip. He hired a local caddy, paid him, I think, $3,000. They had an agreement to pay that amount of money. Since that time, it has been suggested that he stiffed the caddy. Some former tour player of Little No said that he stiffed him, only paid him $3,000 when he won $1.3 million at the Classic. Kuchar said he did not pay him, made some other fortunate comments that come out about that was a pretty good week for the guy, and shouldn't have said things. The situation seems to have come to a head this week, and it has concluded as apparently Kuchar has conceded and has made a payment of was going to give the guy $50,000. In an interview, the caddy said that would be a fair amount. Somebody wrote me and asked me if I was going to comment on it and what was my opinion on the whole thing, and I am torn. On one hand, I believe he should have gave the guy a little bit more money. On the other hand, he had an agreement. And too often in this world nowadays, we don't stand by our agreements. And had he finished 10th, last, next to last, 25th, 5th, this would not have been a matter. Nobody would have cared. It is only because he won that they're saying that he should have gave the caddy more money. It was not his regular caddy. His regular caddy would have got 10%, which would have been $130,000. He made an agreement with this caddy when he went down there that he would pay him $5,000 or whatever for the week. This is what he paid him. He did not stiff him. Stiffing means he didn't pay him anything. So in my mind, the whole terminology in the first place was wrong. That's one thing. Secondly, it's a little, for a caddy to go on and get interviewed then and say he didn't think it was fair and that $50,000 would be fair, 10 times what he got paid for that. Again, you made an agreement. You signed it, well, however they work it, they made an agreement. Didn't say if he won, he would pay more, or the caddy didn't ask for more if he won. The agreement was made to do a job, to work hopefully 4 rounds of a PGA tournament in Mexico. Which he did. Just so happened the guy he was caddying for won. Should Kuchar have given him a bonus, if you will? Sure, he should have. But technically, he met the requirements. And to come down on Kuchar the way they have come down And for a caddy to go and say, I should have got X amount, it stinks to me. The whole situation smells. I don't like when people do that, especially when they're the ones that made the agreement in the first place. Then you should have said in your agreement, and maybe you should in the future agreements, you should say, but if you win, I expect to get $50,000. But they didn't do that because he wanted to work. I hate to tell you, he might have hurt himself in the future when the PGA Tour comes down to Mexico again. Guys may not want to hire him because they're afraid he's going to go to the press, or he's going to say he gets stiffed, or whatever. So it's a lot of non-news, but it was out there. I wanted to address it. That's my feelings. There was an agreement made. I didn't see anything wrong with what Kuchar did. Yeah, he should have thrown him some more money. But again, I'm uncomfortable when a caddy goes and talks to the press, which is what my understanding is, and asks for a certain amount of money. It smells a little bit to me. All right, weather wreaked havoc on the Genesis Open this past week on the PGA Tour. Delays forced early start times and much longer days. And on Sunday, the two most notable active PGA Tour pros from Kentucky battled for 34 holes to decide a much more lucrative prize, and that was the Genesis Open title. In the end, it was J.B. Holmes, the older of the two thoroughbreds, who caught Justin Thomas. You like that, thoroughbreds with Kentucky. Anyway, who caught Justin Thomas down the home stretch to win at Riviera in an afternoon of challenging windy conditions. It was a mess. They were, oh boy. The ball was blowing all over the place, and it was just a rough day out there. Due to the schedule adjustment forced by a 7-hour rain delay to start the tournament, rules officials decided not to repair the groups between the third and fourth rounds in order to make sure the playing schedule was not pushed into Monday. That meant Holmes and Thomas, along with Australian Adam Scott, played 2 holes late Saturday afternoon to start the third round, then 16 holes to complete the round on Sunday morning before teeing off 20 minutes later for 18 more holes in the final round. It's a lot of golf in one day. But the old timers used to do. They used to play 36 holes in match play in a major tournaments back in the day. Thomas appeared to take control of the tournament with a 3-round 65 that put him 4 strokes ahead, but that lead evaporated 5 holes into the Sunday round when Holmes gained a stroke on 4 consecutive holes with a birdie and 3 Thomas bogeys. Holmes played steady while Thomas self-destructed with a double at the 13th and a bogey at the 14th. Thomas got back with a birdie, but to put him 1 behind, but he could not close the gap on 17 or 18. And Holmes was steady heading in and won and claimed his 5th tour victory. So congratulations, J.B. Holmes, who it was tough. The weather was awful. It was cold and windy, and it was tough. I mean, you could see the ball even being affected on the green by the wind, and just a rough day. But J.B. Holmes did a nice job in winning. Miguel Angel Jimenez won the Chubb Classic on Sunday for his 7th PGA Tour Champions title, beating Bernhard Langer, there's that name again, and Olin Brown with a 5-foot par putt on the first hole of a playoff. Jimenez closed with a 5 under 66 at the Classics at Lila Resort to match Langer and Brown at 13 under. Jimenez has won in each of his 6 seasons on the 50 and over tour. The 55-year-old Spaniard won the Major Regions Tradition and Senior British Open last season. Langer shot 68, and Brown had a double bogey on a par 4 18th in regulation for a 66. The 61-year-old Langer, the Oasis Championship winner last week, won the event in 2011 and in 2013 and 2016. Kevin Sutherland and Woody Austin each shot 69 to finish a shot out of the playoff. Stephen Ames tied for the second round lead with Ken Tanagawa, and Glenn Day had a 71 to tie for sixth at 11 under, with Tom Lehman, Sandy Lyle, Retief Goosen, and Colin Montgomery, who had the lead for a bit of time in that tournament. Tanagawa and Day each shot 72 to finish at 10 under. Steve Stricker also was at 10 under. And out to our friends on the European Tour, Ryan Fox claimed a convincing 3-2 victory over Adam Gawi to win his first European Tour title at the ISPS Handler World Super 6 Perth. The New Zealander finished 8th under after 54 holes of stroke play to earn a bye into the last 16 of the 6-hole knockout stages, but he still had to come through 25 holes on Sunday to lift the trophy at Lake Karrinyup Country Club. Fox's victory in his 79th European Tour event makes him the first winner from New Zealand since Danny Lee won the 2009 Johnny Walker Classic as an amateur. And Nelly Korda added to her family's impressive sports pedigree, down under with a win Sunday in the women's Australian Open. Korda led by 3 strokes after the third round, increased it to 4 with a tap-in birdie on the 10th, and added a 25-foot birdie on the 11th to make it a lead of 5. She had a third consecutive birdie on the 12th to help claim a 2-stroke victory with a 5 under 67 at the Grange Golf Club, finishing with a 17 under total of 271. Defending champion Jin Young Ko was second after shooting a 64. Korda's father, Peter, was an Australian Open men's tennis champion, winning the tournament in 1998. Her golfing sister, Jessica, won the Australian Open 7 years ago. And her tennis-playing brother, Sebastian, won the Australian Open boys singles title last year. So she is an American, but has strong ties to Australia. And that's going to wrap it up for the recap this week on all of the action across the 4 major tours around the globe. And we're going to take a break and be back right after this.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com.
My guest this week is the owner of PowerStik.com, and Power Stik is a training aid that will help you with your grip, increase your distance, and your balance. And he is George Rodgers, and he is on the phone with me now. George, welcome to Talking Golf with Gary.
Good to be here today. Like a lot of people in the country, it'd probably better to be inside than outside, especially if you're on the East Coast.
Yes, certainly, and doesn't get us out to the course to improve our game any, does it?
No. Power Stik, you could at least exercise in your house today.
There you go. So tell us a little bit about Power Stik and how it all came about for you.
Well, I'm 68 years old now, and when I was a kid, when I started playing when I was about 10 years old, back in those days, they didn't really have any swing trainers per se. I can remember my pro giving me a metal rod to swing. It was very, very heavy, and that's what you used as a swing trainer. and basically, even a lot of the teaching pros, like a famous one like Harvey Penick, who he actually instructed a lot of pros, and one of them was Ben Crenshaw. Ben Crenshaw is exactly in the same kind of situation. When he was young, Harvey Penick had all his students swinging a weighted rod to increase, the muscle strength and all their golf muscles.
Right.
So they weren't quite sophisticated back then, but they had them. So I grew up playing golf, went to college on the golf scholarship, played on many tours professionally, off and on for 5 or 6 years, and I ended up owning part of a golf store. And this was like in the early 1990s, like 1995. And I was in my golf store one day, and a guy came in, and I'm not going to mention any brand names. I guess I'm not supposed to. But anyways, 1995, a swing trainer came out that is it's still being sold, was very famous, and I was in pretty good golf shape in those days because I was playing tournament golf and hitting 200 or 300 balls every day. And a rep came into my golf store to try to get me to sell some of these in the store. So I took this club, and after about 2 swings, it felt like this thing was pulling my arms out of my shoulder socket.
Right.
But I said, this does not feel good to me. I said, I thought I can design something better than this. So I knew a couple guys that I played golf with in various tournaments and charities and things, and they were both orthopedic surgeons. And I thought to myself, who knows the human body and bones and muscle structure better than an orthopedic surgeon?
Mm-hmm.
So I told these guys, what I was going to do, and that I wanted to design this thing, and I wanted to have their feedback as I was trying different weights and head shapes and all this kind of stuff. So after about 6 months of trying different weights, different shafts, different head configurations, this, that, 3 or 4 different weights on it, I finally came that felt good to me. It didn't feel like it was pulling my arms out of my shoulder sockets. And I could feel that it was really putting resistance on the 3 main muscle groups that these orthopedic surgeons told me produce most of the power in a golf swing, and those muscles are your trapezius, your deltoids, and your latissimus muscles. They're really the biggest muscle groups in your upper body.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got to the point where I thought that it felt good to me, I went back to them and had all these guys swing it, and they all agreed that yes, the balance of this really, really felt good to them, and they felt like that it was putting resistance on those 3 main muscle groups. They liked it, so I started making a few in my golf shop. I had no intention of selling these, on the internet.
Right.
Or anywhere. And so I made a few of them, and, as I was going out and playing in golf tournaments and this and that, and people would see me hit a golf ball, and I was getting up in the mid-40s then, my mid-40s, they'd ask me, well, how do you still hit the ball so far? You work out all the time? And I'd say, no gyms. I don't go to the gym. I don't use any bungee cords, no medicine balls, nothing. I just exercise with this every day.
Wow.
I swing it 30, 40 times in the morning. I swing it 30, 40 times at night. It might take me 6, 7 minutes, and that's it. So everywhere I'm going, playing all these golf tournaments, I go to the range. I start selling these things. Everybody that sees me is buying one. So finally, I set up a website,
yep.
and it went from there. And again, I never sold these to make a living. It was just basically a hobby for many, many years. That kind of caused me to have to spend more time with it selling them. But I hand make every one. I always have. I've resisted offers to, have people with a lot of money buy into the company and have them made in China and do all the rest of this stuff. And I've just been a one-man company the whole way.
So you're a one-man band now.
Yes, I am.
And how long does it take you to make one of the Power Sticks?
If I've got all the components ready, it takes me about 5 minutes.
Wow.
Now it takes the epoxy about 24 hours to set up.
Okay.
But for me to put everything together, about 5 minutes. I can make about 200 in a day by myself.
Wow, you must have a crowded living room then.
No. I'm also I've been a certified fitter, and I'm a professional club repair guy. I've been that for like 45 years, so it's very simple to put these together. Very, very, very simple.
And so you said you didn't really want to make a living at this in particular, but apparently it's taken over quite a bit of time of your life. But so people can purchase this online, and any pro shops that are carrying this, or any large box stores at all that you've tried to get into?
I would say you can only buy it online.
Okay.
I've been through all that 20 times through over 20 years. I got to the point where I just didn't think, not that I couldn't make more money, but I'm not going to pay somebody $30,000 to put it in their store to start.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't going to do that.
And then
a lot of them.
And
go ahead.
You lose control of everything that's going on, really, because then they start to decide how they're going to do things with it.
Again, yes. But again, I had the advantage of the fact that I wasn't doing it to make a living. It didn't pay my bills, so I could do what I wanted to do.
Right. So your marketing strategy is you're using what your website and online, and how else are you making people aware of the product?
One of my best resources is actually LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got over 12,000 golf contacts all over the world. If anybody that has anything to do with the golf business, general managers of country clubs, PGA pros, teaching academies, you name it,
Mm-hmm.
I've got contacts all over the world through LinkedIn. And that's really my best advertising agency or connections, and that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, because these are people, they're specifically in the golf business, and they're also connected to many other people. They're students, people in the country club, that they can talk to it about. And honestly, even after all this time, I think that 8 out of 10 of my Power Sticks are sold just from people that buy them, and then one of their buddies or somebody else sees them on a golf course. It's word of mouth.
Right.
That's what really sells these. Just people buying them and telling other people.
Yeah, that seems to be what happens a lot of times with products that such as yours, that it is, a lot of it is word of mouth.
Yeah. I never had the money, or never wanted to spend the money to, get an infomercial done. And nowadays, you can have a product that's not really that good. And if you make an infomercial and you put it on the Golf Channel and run it on the Golf Channel all the time, and then you put an ad in Golf Digest and an ad in Golf Magazine, you can sell 500,000 of them, even though they're not that good.
Right.
It's just advertising. And I'll tell you, I've been laughing for 20 years when I see some of these products that are advertised on TV, I sit here and laugh. I don't know if you ever saw this one. This was about 10, 12 years ago. Somebody, some people or corporations or whatever, they must have spent $300,000 or $400,000 to have this infomercial done, and they were in Golf Magazine, and all this was, and all this was, it looked like a little Visine bottle with some kind of dust in it that you take the top off and spray it in the air so you know which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah, I did see that.
I mean, they spent an unbelievable amount of money to advertise this thing. I think that lasted about 3 months, and they declared bankruptcy.
Yeah, I'll stick to the grass.
Yeah, I'll just pick up some grass and flick it. You know?
Yeah, it's free. You don't have to worry about it. No.
Somebody, they spent probably $200,000 or $300,000 on advertising this thing.
How could you even do one that an infomercial long enough for such a thing?
Exactly. It was hilarious, and I thought. And my first thought on all of these things, when I see a new commercial or something on some new product, my first thought is, who in the heck put up the money to advertise this thing? That's my first thought.
Yeah.
Because I know what's involved. Is just for a one-page article in Golf Magazine. A one-page article in Golf Magazine is a lot of money.
Yeah, it certainly is, and
$30,000 in that range.
Wow. Well, that's what keeping them in business too, right?
Oh yeah. And the Visine bottle was in there 1 month. They ran it.
The Visine bottle. That's so funny. Well, we know you've got a wonderful product here because you offer a lifetime guarantee. And how is that working out for you?
Well, unlike a lot of other products, with mine, it's like the Rolls Royce of swing trainers because no plastic, there's no rubber, there's no clickers that can break. The head that's on my club, it's 303 grade stainless steel. It's pure stainless steel. This thing will not rust and won't decompose. These heads will be around 10,000 years from now. It won't fall apart. So if somebody happens to break a shaft, they can send it back to me. I'll reshaft it and just send it back to them.
Wow.
No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very, very hard. I'm knocking on wood again because, number one, that slogan that I have or that ad that I put on all my advertisements that I send out over the internet that states that I've got 20 years of sale, I've never had one returned, is absolutely true.
Wow.
Even for a broken shaft.
Wow, that's incredible.
I've never had anybody return one or contact me and say that they broke the shaft. And there probably are some broken ones, but the guys did it because because they got mad and hit a tree or did something with it, and they're probably embarrassed to contact me. But I've never ever had one returned, or I've never had anybody break one and contact me for me to fix it, ever.
Well, that's a pretty good record there. So
I'm knocking on wood, believe me.
How exactly? You mentioned before about swinging it 30 times a day. So
right.
How does it work? And if that's the best way to how to word it, and does it come with any kind of special routine, or is it just this is something you've worked out over the years with the 30 swings a day? What's the idea there?
All right. The first thing about this is that if you know anything about anatomy or physiology or kinesiology or anything like that, the first thing that you need to realize that with golf is that when you start playing golf, you have to develop a whole new set of muscle memory in your body, which basically your motor cortex that's the part of your brain that controls every voluntary muscle movement that you make. You know, when you're born, you can't even pick up a cup, you know, for 8 months or a year because you have no muscle memory whatsoever. So when you start playing golf, you've got to develop a whole new set of connections in your brain to swing a golf club. Now, with golf, there's only one way that you can exercise all your golf muscles and improve your balance at the same time, and that's to swing a weighted club. You can't go to a gym and do it. Mm-hmm. You know, if you go to a gym, you're exercising separate muscles and you're not making a golf swing. But there's only one way that you can actually do what I'm saying, and that's make all your golf muscles stronger and improve your balance, and that's to swing some sort of weighted golf club. And any weighted golf club is better than nothing, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. There's good ones and there's not so good ones, but any one is okay. So with mine, the main idea and the main problem with golf is most people don't have enough time to exercise or go to the golf course enough for them to improve their muscle memory, for their balance to get better, and for them to be able to hit a golf ball better. You know, going, in my opinion, if you're hitting 200 balls a week, in other words, you play once a week, that's 100 balls, and you go to the range, hit 100 balls. Mm-hmm. If you hit 200 balls a week, you're basically going to stay at whatever level you're at. Your balance isn't going to get any better, and it's not going to get a whole lot worse. So if you're shooting in the mid-80s, if you play twice a week, you're probably going to be shooting in the mid-80s for the rest of your life. You're just not improving your balance enough to play better. So with a Power Stik, you don't have to go to a golf course. You don't have to go to the driving range. When you get home, you can swing it at your house every day, or you could swing it at work if you had 4 or 5 minutes. So you can use this every day, and you can actually improve your balance, and you can make your muscles stronger. You don't have to go to the golf course. And that's the biggest advantage for 99% of the people that play golf. Mm-hmm. They can use this, and they don't actually have to go to the driving range or go to a golf course. And the exercise, the fitness routine, which you can find on my website, there's this, an icon you can click on. Mm-hmm. It's a suggested way to exercise. Everybody seems to develop their own little routine after they get it. But the basic idea is you do 10. The first 10 swings you swing very, very nice and slow. Okay. Second set a little faster. Third set a little bit faster. Each set gets a little bit faster. And some people start out, they only do 2 sets of 10 swings. Whatever is comfortable for yourself. You don't want to swing at full speed, completely full speed. There's no need to. And all you're basically doing when you're swinging this is just concentrating on having good balance. Because a normal golf club weighs about around 3/4 of a pound. That's what it weighs.
Right.
Average. Now, my Power Stik, it weighs 1.5 pounds. Now, it doesn't feel like it weighs that much because 80% of the weight is at the very bottom of the club, all the way down there. So, with the way the weight is displaced, number one, it doesn't feel like you're pulling your arms out of your shoulder sockets either.
Right.
Very smooth. So basically, all you do with this is you just do sets of repetitions, 10 at a time, whether you do 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets, and you just concentrate on having really good balance. And that's it. You will get stronger, and your balance will get better. Most people that use this, within the first 10 days, they hit 1 less iron. If you're hitting your 9-iron 140 yards when you start, usually within 10 days you're hitting your 9-iron 150 yards. I mean, this is almost everybody that's ever used one of these. Right. And after a month, usually people got another 30, 40 yards on their driver. And basically it's for the 2 reasons. Number one, it is making all your golf muscles a lot stronger, and it's doing it fast. And number 2, one of the main reasons people don't have a lot of speed in their golf swing is is because they don't hold the hinge in their wrists as they're coming down into the ball long enough. You know, they have different names for it. They call it casting or coming over the top.
Right.
But with the way the Power Stik is weighted, it forces you to hold that hinge down to the very bottom of your swing and release it at the very bottom. And that gives you, if you can hold it that long, it gives you about another 30% power on the speed of the golf club. In other words, if I take my arms and move them 80 and swing them 80 miles an hour, and I don't hinge my wrist, the club head's going 80 miles an hour.
Right.
Now, if I move my arms 80 miles an hour and I hold that hinge in my wrist to the very bottom, I'm getting another 30% swing speed power. So 30% of 80 is 24. So without hinging my wrist, the club's going 80 miles an hour. Hinging my wrist, it's going 104 miles an hour.
Wow.
And the Power Stik forces you, because of the way it's weighted, it forces you to hold that hinge longer so that you hold it all the way down to the bottom of your swing and release it at the very last second. And it forces you to do that.
And it's a one piece, and I imagine that would be better as well, because we've all used the slide on donuts, and half the time you're wondering if it's going to hit you in the head when you're going into your backswing, because it's moving around and stuff. At least this is stable, and you can feel more confident with it.
And the other thing about that is with a weighted club, I tried configurations when I was making this, and I tried putting weighted club heads on the bottom of the shaft. Actually, like an actual golf club.
Right.
But when I put a 500-gram weighted golf head at the very bottom of that, it creates a lot of torque. It makes on your wrist. In other words, your wrists want to flip over and do all kind of weird things because it's oblong and it's not perfectly round, 360 degrees. Mm-hmm. So it was much harder to swing that and control it compared to having that perfectly round head.
Right.
But I tried that too.
And what about changeable weights? I know when I was talking to a friend of mine telling me I was having you on about your product, and he asked if there was changeable weights. Is that something that you offer as well? No. The way I make it is exactly the way I want it to stay. Mm-hmm. Changeable weights changes the weight displacement, and it isn't as effective. Anybody that weighs 80 pounds or more can swing this. And again, it's all about the weight displacement. If I took my club, if I took the Power Stik, and let's say I moved that, let's say I put that weight, that 500-gram weight, in the middle of the shaft. Mm-hmm. Feel completely different than it does, even though I haven't changed the total weight of the club, and you'd feel your arms being pulled out of your shoulder socket. Right. It's just like, if you take your driver and hit a few drives with it, you know what that feels like. Turn your driver upside down and swing it. What does it feel like? Completely different. There's no resistance on your muscles. You can stand out there all day. You can turn your driver upside down and swing it 5,000 times. Your muscles aren't going to get much stronger. Because it's so light and there's no resistance. Right. And you really... So there's no need... go ahead. I'm sorry. There's no need to have any interchangeable weights if you do it right the first time. Yeah. And you don't really want to build up those muscles. I mean, you really want to... Well, you do want to build them up, but you know what I mean? You don't want to be... everybody wants to be... Mr. America now with the bulging muscles, but that doesn't always work. At least with this, you can build them up and keep them loose, and I also imagine it's a good tool to use before a round to get you stretched out a little bit. Yep, you swing it 15 times, nice and slow. 15 times, you're ready to go, and that takes you about 15 seconds. That's it. 15 swings and you're loose. I mean, I'm going to talk about the making yourself stronger. It's not just making your muscles stronger. It's also keeping them flexible. You don't want big muscles. Exactly. And you notice, I get into that too, in that those certain muscle groups, those three muscle groups,
the deltoids, latissimus, and the trapezoids. Those are the muscles you want to make stronger. You don't want big, gigantic biceps to hit golf balls. And if you look at a lot of the guys on the PGA Tour, most of these guys, their forearms are bigger than their biceps. They got little skinny biceps. Yeah. Bubba Watson, Justin Thomas, Webb. Most of these guys have really, really skinny biceps because you don't need really strong biceps to hit a golf ball. You need strong forearms, wrists, and hands. But a lot of these guys, their forearms are bigger than their biceps.
Right.
So you don't want to develop your biceps. Now, there's a few guys that have big biceps, and all these guys are the ones that only swing like 3/4 of the way back. They got very short swings. John Ram, Brooks Koepka, he's an exception. He gets it back there pretty good, but John Ram, he's a perfect example. J.B. Holmes, they have very short swings because they're stocky-chested. They got big biceps. So they're not very flexible swing the golf ball, the golf club back to parallel. So those are the only guys that have big biceps, the ones with really short swings. Yeah. Most of these guys, again, little Justin Thomas, 5'5", weighs 140.
Yeah, I mean something.
And his forearms are bigger than his biceps.
And
in my opinion, you don't want to develop your biceps.
And Ricky Fowler as well.
Yep. Ricky Fowler, he's again very, very thin biceps, and again his forearms are probably bigger than his biceps. So.
On your website, you have a lot of testimonials and some Symetra Tour players and some teachers, top teachers in the country use your product. Any pros ever mentioned to you that they're using your product on the side?
Well, it's funny. The very first person that got one of these is Ben Crenshaw. And if you know, he's the one golf pro in the world that never endorses any product.
Yeah, that's right.
That was my luck with that one, but yeah, I got one to him, and again, I read Harvey Penick's book, so I'd read all his books about teaching golf and this and that, and I knew that he was very, very. He was his one of his main teaching principles, and he wanted everybody. He thought everybody should swing a weighted club, because again, just like I told you before, the only way that you can strengthen all your muscles and improve your balance is to swing some sort of weighted golf club. You can't do it in a gym or anywhere else. But that's the reason I got in contact with Ben Crenshaw from an early point, because of Mr. Penick. So there's various pros that have them, but we get back to the money thing again.
Right.
It's not the golf pros that they're not the problem to get it advertised. It's their agents going through their agents that have to make their 20, 30 grand.
Right.
So I haven't wanted to pay that money either.
I don't blame you. It's funny because you do see some of these tour pros and they've gotten, they've got the bag and the hat and everything all covered with names, and then you'll always see a club or two or three or four in their bag that's not the same company that they're advertising. But, you use what works, and if this works for them, it most certainly should be used.
Yep.
Well, it must be a terrific.
God bless them.
Yeah, right.
And God bless them.
That's right.
They've got a family, they've got to support and children to feed. So I don't blame them whatsoever to get paid for advertising other people's products.
And look, if one guy's using it and four other guys see him use it and they call you up and order it, what do you care, right?
Exactly. Honestly, I don't care if I sell one a month or 100 a month. That doesn't make any difference to me, honestly.
Well, George, I want to thank you for coming on. I enjoyed this little time together. And why don't you tell the folks where they can pick up the product?
All right, so you go online. It's at powerstik.com, and it's POWERSTIK. No C in it. There's no C in stick. POWERSTIK. I've got my website. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. You can find it anywhere you look just by typing in Power Stik Swing Trainer, and I'd be glad to send one out to you. I guarantee you'll love it. I guarantee you your swing speed will get faster, and I guarantee your balance will get better. Balance is the key in golf. That's 90% of the problem of hitting a golf ball. Just very, very good. And I thank you very much for the interview today.
And, George, I thank you for your time, and good luck with the Power Stik, even though I don't think you need it because you've been selling them for years and very successful with it. And but I do thank you for your time, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Gary. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. And I'll be back right after this.
Sponsor an ad on the podcast. Support our show and let people know about your business. Email us today.
516-362-0443. That is the Talking Golf Hotline. If you've got a question, a comment, or want to leave a voicemail, say hi. That's the number to call, 516-362-0443. Or if you'd like to leave an email, you can email the show at talkinggolf@gmail.com.
Now it's time to do the calendar. Now it's time to do the calendar. Oh, hooray, let's sing the calendar. Now it's time to do the calendar.
All righty, time for the calendar. And on this week's calendar, next week's the upcoming tournaments on the PGA Tours, the World Golf Championship Mexico. That will also incorporate the European Tour. So they are off, if you will. A lot of the guys will be over here playing in that. And I think that's an invitational. They have the other alternative tournament, which we'll talk about in a second. But the World Golf Championship in Mexico, Phil Mickelson defends on that tournament. And the Puerto Rican Open is the other tournament for all the others that didn't qualify for the World Golf Championship. The Puerto Rican Open will also be taking place. That is also accredited to the PGA Tour. DA Points is the defending champion at that event. The Champions Tour is off until March. European Tour, as I said, will be at the World Golf Championship in Mexico. And the LPGA Tour is the Honda LPGA. And I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it. And I want to thank my guest, George Rodgers of Power Stik Incorporated, powerstik.com. I'm going to tell you how it works. I have received one of the training aids, the Power Stik, and I am going to start tomorrow using it religiously, and I will let you know how it works in the upcoming week, so be on the lookout for that. And I want to thank you all for listening, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, and on Spotify. We are now on Spotify, so go check us out. If you're a Spotify user, please go check out the podcast on there and subscribe if you wish. on that way. Again, as I said, we're on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, wherever you listen to or watch the podcast. Hit the subscribe button. That helps me grow the show and expand to new listeners. And until next time, remember, as you walk down the fairway of life, you must smell the roses, for you only get to play one round. Have a great week, everybody. See you next time.